Okinawa, the only place in the world where a tropical island meets traditional Japan. Okinawans pride themselves on their strong traditions of the martial arts, with it being the birthplace of karate. The island has a magical history, full of myths, legends, and traditional ceremonies. Once mainly consisting of fishing villages, Okinawa City is now a bustling metropolis, and in recent years has seen another new addition. Okinawa Pro Wrestling. Boasting some of the best pro wrestlers in Japan, the company is home to Australian Brian Cannon. But just how did this unlikely Aussie become a Japanese wrestling superstar? This is his story.
I guess the journey began for me when I was 8 years old, and my father took me to a Big Daddy Giant Haystacks match. From that day on, I wanted to be a professional wrestler. At the time when I was living in Australia, there was no set out journey to become a pro wrestler, so my father decided he would enroll me in the local amateur wrestling club at the Police Boys. I wrestled in amateur wrestling for about 4 or 5 years, and I actually ended up representing Australia. And in 1993 I went to Western Samoa to compete in the Oceania Games. Even though I was amateur wrestling, I just always wanted to be a pro wrestler. So we used to hold backyard wrestling events in my house, and we used to dress up as our favourite WWF characters, and we'd invite all the neighbourhood kids around. We had a crazy time, but I always just wanted to dress up as Japanese pro wrestling characters. The characters such as Jushin Liger, the Great Muta, this to me as a young boy was like crazy, and I said that's what I want to be. So I used to make Japanese wrestling costumes and come out in the backyard and dressed as Jushin Thunder Liger from Japan. I made my professional wrestling debut when I was 17 years old as a character called Superfire. So for the next 4 years I had matches throughout Australia, and often travelling 5 hours for the show and having to do the match and coming straight back for work the next day. In Australia there was no real future for professional wrestling. You couldn't really do it as a full-time job, and that's what I wanted to do. So I enrolled at the Hart School of Wrestling in Canada. So at the Hart School of Wrestling where I was training, I wrestled alongside Edge, Christian, Dan Severn, Tyson Dukes, Joey Legend, Glenn Colker, Akeem Albright. They all came to the Hearts, so it was a great opportunity. Man, that training's tough. Like, I remember Walter Van Erck would sit there in his chair that he invented for the Chicago Bears and just like yell out instructions at us. You're not bumping hard enough, bump harder! We ended up touring with a company called ICW, and at the time Jerry Lawler's company in Memphis had closed down, and Vince McMahon needed a feeder ground, so he sent a lot of their young guys out to ICW, which I got on tour with guys such as Edge, Christian, Joey Legend. So we started out touring Canada. ICW was formerly Stampede Wrestling, and I actually became the ICW Canadian Cruiserweight Champion. After wrestling in Canada and the States for about a year, I suffered a serious shoulder injury that required several reconstructive surgeries. So I remember after my last reconstructive surgery, lying in hospital in a contraption that was holding my arm together, I remember I asked my brother to take a photo of me, and I was groggy from the medication, but I was thinking in my head, I need this photo because I want to be reminded that I'm not going to like quit. The doctors told me maybe I could never wrestle again and that my career would be over, but I said to my brother, take this shot because I want to put this on the wall, and I want this to be a constant reminder that one day I'm going to get back and I'm going to get this shoulder strong again, and I'm going to fulfill my dream as a pro wrestler. So after about 4 or 5 years, my shoulder was finally coming to feel strong again, and I started training at Gold's Gym in Sydney. That's when I met my future tag partner, Taipan, and we decided that we'd become a tag team and we'd call ourselves the Croc Masters from Australia.
He just threw his own partner into the corner. What do I do here now?
we sent our promo video to various companies in Japan, and eventually we were picked up by a company called Osaka Pro Wrestling. We flew over to Japan to sign the contracts, but on the first day my tag team partner Taipan walked out on me, leaving me to go to training the next day by myself and explaining where the other half of my tag team was. Can you imagine how that feels, mate? You just left in Japan and I have to explain to Super Dolphin why half of the tag team's not there anymore. Fortunately, Super Dolphin gave me a break and he signed me as a singles wrestler. I wrestled for a year in Osaka Pro as Dingo, and it was the toughest year of my life. See, Osaka Pro has some of the best wrestlers in the world, mate. Guys like Ebessan, Masamune, Hideyoshi, Super Dolphin, Billy Ken Kid, Tiger's Mask. These guys were legends in Japan, and I was amongst it.
아웃코너 딩고 뉴스
6人タッグマッチ60分一本勝負スペルデルフィン食いしん坊仮面床組対ミラクルマンディンゴアイスペンギン組の一戦。この試合のゲスト解説にはたこ焼き井田選手にディンゴが入場してきました。怪しいテーマソングに乗っての入場。さあコーナーに上がって今日も吠えていくディンゴ。一枚上手かロープに振ったディンゴ、そしてボディへパンチ、水面蹴り、3セットフリップはかわしていく。そしてコーナーへフットフレックスで返していった。そしてディンゴにタッチ。さあディンゴが3人をいとも簡単に。身のこなしが軽やかですディンゴ。
After living my dream for a year as a Japanese professional wrestler, my contract expired and I had to come back to Australia. And mate, was I happy when I got the call up from Super Dolphin to be part of his new company, Okinawa Pro Wrestling. Okinawa Pro Wrestling, it's a crazy company. Everyone's in a mask and they all represent characters from Okinawa's past and present history. I wrestle now in Okinawa as a character called Kijimuna, who is famous in Okinawa as a fairy demon spirit who gives luck to Okinawans. Sometimes when I'm signing autographs in Japan and I can see the fans come up to me and the little kids come up and I'm signing Kijimuna, it's like, man, I'm truly living my dream. And I realise all the hardships, everything I went through, the surgeries, the being rejected, the being stranded in Japan by your partner, it's all worth it now. Everything that I went through, it's finally paid off. And if you have a dream and you really want to pursue it, don't give up. Because if you give up, then it's just not worth living. Life wouldn't be worth living if you give up on your dreams. Bret Hart was right when he said the biggest dreams can come true. I can truly say that I'm living my dream.